Wow. Yeah. The new moon in Leo, August 16th, 2023, is ripe with some really big, badass energy for setting goals, contemplating your personal expression and your freedom really deeply. It's not just about contemplation, though. It's about making plans to actually do something about reaching those goals. And any powerful plans that you put into motion now, any little seeds that you set, are going to come to its first apex point in about 6 months, but it's going to keep growing and ripening for about 2 years. So I'm going to tell you why I think this particular new moon in Leo is really important, and it actually has the power to ignite your life again. You bring some fire back into your life, and all you have to do is hang out with me for a little bit here, and I'm going to break it down into 3 powerful components for this new moon. I'm going to give you a sneak preview because 2 of those components have to do with aspects to Uranus. Yeah, that's some serious Uranus situation here. And the third is going to lead us down the road to the story of Diogenes of Sinope, who was a Greek philosopher who was very, very unusual, and he lived in a large barrel and wore no clothes. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I'm your girl, I got you covered. Number 1 is Uranus is square exactly to the new moon. It's hitting it from Taurus at 23 degrees to the new moon in Leo, which is at 23 degrees. Uranus is rebellious energy. It's the change maker. And when it reaches a square with this new moon, it's rocking these foundations of the newness of it. It's this more fixed energy in your life because it's Leo, it's Taurus. So that's like where you don't feel comfortable with a lot of change. You would like things to stay steady, but this can be a good thing because it's shaking up some of those places where you could literally be stuck and you need a refresh, you need a restart. And that's what this Leo new moon can be for you. It's going to really focus you on what are you doing in your life that's making you stay in a place where you're limiting yourself. So it's about opening your mind to new avenues. Now, this may be a time to explore that part of you that you may have neglected or pushed away because you were a little bit afraid to let it out. This is the time to start thinking about how you can use that part of you to propel yourself forward with your goals, with your ideas, what you want from your life, right? We go about our life thinking it's unlimited, and it's not. We have opportunities that are bigger than others, and this is one of those times. Now, the breakthrough could be sudden, too. It could be a resolution to a situation that could cause that friction because you don't want to stand out or do the rebellious thing. It might make you feel, moon, vulnerable in your foundations, the sun. So that could be challenging. But when you engage in a square, when you engage in friction, this can lead you to a liberation experience where you have more autonomy, where you have more self-expression, where you're connecting with your confidence. There's this podcaster and writer, his name is Tim Ferriss. He's really famous, you've probably heard of him, but he wrote the book, The 4-Hour Work Week. And he recently laid out in his community post this process for reigniting your life. And I loved this because he started it out with the 2 words, get unrealistic. That is so Uranus square the new moon in Leo. That's what it feels like. It's striving and reaching for something that can feel uncomfortable, and it can feel unrealistic because you're straining at the boundaries of your perceived limits. What you think you are is not what you actually are. What you think you can go for, that's not really the limit. That's not the boundary. So as Leo's so connected to who we are deeply and how we express ourselves and our heart-centeredness, our courage, our self. But when it's being challenged by the Uranus aspect here, it's an ability to see something more. It's a crack through the Berlin Wall sort of thing. You know, it's a crack in this limiting belief that we have to a new potential. And I'm not saying it's going to be comfortable. It probably isn't, but it's there. There's some different perspective, new potential, an opportunity that could lead to you igniting your own life, or this opportunity can ignite your life. So I'll link to the Tim Ferriss post in the description below. Read through that, see if it's something you want to engage yourself in order to ignite that part of your life. I thought I would just use this opportunity to tell you 2 things. And I'll keep it really quick. First thing is, this is my book, The Runaway Stars, and it's available on Amazon if you're interested. It's sort of my process of walking the talk and just put myself out there in the world and do things that I never thought I could do before. And publishing a book is one of them. So if you want to check it out, I'll put the link in the description. The second thing is I do have availability coming up in the fall for readings. So if you're interested in that, you can follow the link in the description below. I hope that wasn't too annoying. Okay, back to the video. The second thing we've got coming here for this new moon in Leo that can really amp this up is a trine from Mars to Uranus. This is super awesome. It's double the pleasure, double the fun for Uranus here, because this time it's a very supportive energy. It's a ride or die trine energy. This is strength, vigor, courage coming from Mars in a very effective and efficient place from Virgo. It's a very easy relationship to Uranus, which is in Taurus, which is very creative, the change maker and creativity. So we'll put all that together and we'll see that this is probably going to come through as a very real world, practical opportunity to do or make something very physical related to the active principle of harvest and creation. That's a lot of words to just say. This is a good time to do the thing. This is a good time to just put it out there, to get that courage ready to go for whatever it is that you're making, creating. This is it. This is a good time. And when I think about these two powerhouse planets, Mars and Uranus, coming together in a supportive aspect, it's very exciting. It's tantalizing. It's interesting because Mars is catalyzing that active energy for change. It's like, ooh, let's do some action here. And Uranus is like, yeah, cool. I'm opening this space for you, Mars, to be liberated. Do your thing. Be the warrior. Come out and get this done. So this can be a release of some pressure in you because it's a trine. It should be a release and a relief of pressure to break out of this oppressive situation, including the ones we consciously or unconsciously are putting on ourselves. I'm not good enough. I can't do that thing. I'll never, perfect that. So why should I do it? No, this is not that energy. Mars in Virgo is saying, it's fight for that. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be done. It has to be done. That's what it's saying. And Uranus is like, cool, I'll open up the door so you can go through it and get that thing done in maybe a weird way or a different way than you expected. So that's what this is. This is what's coming out. New activities, new encounters, a break from this routine that you might be in or a rut psychologically. The transit offers a chance for some courage to break free. At least set those seeds in motion. Start thinking about it. When I was doing my research and thinking, and writing about what I thought, the image that came to my mind was the relationship between Thelma and Louise in the movie Thelma and Louise. Even down to that literal cliffhanger ending. They're the epitome of the ride or die energy, like literally riding and possibly dying. So beyond the point. The point I'm trying to make is that they're liberated. They are the energy of liberation, fighting back for change, against oppression, against the things that were keeping them down, opening up to the possibility or the potential for a major change. The Thelma and Louise archetype is definitely Mars Uranus, but when it's trine, let's add that to the mix, and that's when you're getting all the best parts of Thelma and Louise.
Simple as that. Then I just slip on out.
If you recut the movie and took out the police and being chased and, the things that happen that are seedy and kind of not cool and legitimately bad, if you take all that out, then you're just getting the best parts of it, which is the boundary breaking, freedom seeking, courageous endeavor, not destroying everything in your life impulsively. So just getting all that good stuff, eliminate the bad, and you get what I'm trying to say here. That's what this Mars Uranus trine is like. Okay, we've gotten to part 3. Part 3 is the Sabian symbol analysis. Now this one's very interesting. It's very Uranian. And what I like about it is that it is strange. We have to think more deeply. There are 3 or 4 different titles for the Sabian symbol. The first one we're going to talk about here is from Burgess. Totally concentrated upon inner spiritual attainment, a yogi is sitting. When we think about a yogi, they are in a process of spiritual enlightenment, right? And they have released a lot of the material trappings of the world, and they're committed to their spiritual attainment. They have to be very, very focused. So that's the idea of holding focus. that goes back to what we're talking about with picking out those goals and being very clear about what you want and who you are. And even though it might be weird or feel uncomfortable, and getting unrealistic. Burgess says, we cannot expect to excel to mastery of any kind unless we bring total concentration to the matters at hand. So giving attention to only what matters. In this period, only what matters is getting to the thing that you want to get to in your life. That's what it is. Because if we look at this as a 2-year goal-setting experience, it's practical force from Mars and Uranus opening up the lane, which is very, okay, cool. We can do all sorts of different stuff. Been doing a lot of thinking about this and this whole Leo-Aquarius dichotomy here. And the point of all of this, it's not to be individualistic. It's not to be selfish, right? That could be a shadow side of Leo. It's not a selfishness, because the only way we can really do anything, the only thing we have control over is ourselves. And that's it. And when we have control over ourselves, we know what our needs are, what our wants are, then we can be very generous, that's also Leo, with our hearts, also Leo, and sharing that courageousness out into the world and leadership. That's the only way that we can change the world, is by knowing who we are and what we want in order to move forward the collective. Okay, let's go to the second explanation of this Sabian symbol. It's from Rudyard. Rudyard says, totally concentrated upon inner spiritual attainment, a man is sitting in a state of complete neglect of bodily appearance and cleanliness. Diogenes of Sinope is the epitome of not really caring about the outward focus of the body or hygiene. Diogenes of Sinope is one of the most eccentric philosophers of ancient Greece. He's known as the filthy philosopher, and he lived very famously in either a wine barrel or possibly a large ceramic jar, which was used for wine. And he lived in that barrel, it was big, on the streets of Athens. He lived mostly on a diet of onions, onions that were discarded from the marketplace. So he had extreme onion breath on top of everything else. Some of his interests, what he liked to do, is hold out a lantern in the middle of the day, in the light of day, claiming to be searching for an honest man. He loved to sabotage Plato and Socrates' lectures, so he'd just show up and mock them. And he's one of the founders of the philosophy of cynicism, okay? The cynicism that we're talking about here is Diogenes' version, which is a rebellion against groupthink. He fought against the falsity of currency, and he held materialism in contempt. So he was brave enough, and I think really mental health situation with this guy, to be honest, but he really was living it in his own beliefs. He was talking the talk and walking the walk, and he even denounced clothing. So he was completely nude all the time, and if he was wearing something, it was completely filthy. It was in his belief that all artificial growths of society, such as status and wealth, were unimportant, and they could be damaging to our souls. We're getting there, okay. He believed that man is not above nature, and we're inescapably part of nature. We retreat from this truth, and the more we retreat from the truth that we're part of nature, we're hiding behind this lavishness of our houses or our material treasures or our material pursuits, the further we withdraw from true virtue. Now, it's okay to have possessions, it's okay to have wealth, it's okay. All of it is okay. I think Diogenes obviously was very extreme, but we can look at his allegory, which is actually a very old paradigm, that we're engaging with true virtue, leaning into the pursuit of what's really important to you, at least knowing what's important to you. I mean, that's 99% of it, knowing what you want. And establishing your goals, maybe by using that outline that Tim Ferriss had, and getting familiar with the parts of you that might be outside of the norm that need to be expressed in order to courageously go forward. What does it even mean, being unrealistic? What does it even mean? Who says it's unrealistic? Perhaps at this time, we're really getting an influence from Uranus. It's time to delete that concept, at least for a little bit, to set some seeds into the ground, to plant a few outrageous seeds for your future, without taking it to the Diogenes of Sinope extreme, without renouncing everything, but to understand that those things are not the goal. That's the point, I think. The things are not the goal. The wealth is not the goal. Power is not the goal. It's what you do with those things. It's engaging in your true virtue. Anyway, I like you just the way you are, and I wish you a really wonderful and empowering Uranian influenced Leo new moon. Okay, talk to you next time.